But one story that caught my attention was about the teaching of British values in schools. Apparently, this plays a major role in countering Islamist extremism, according to the Ofsted Chief Inspector of Schools, Sir Michael Wilshaw. Quote, "It is important that all schools, be they faith or non-faith schools, teach British values, the importance of tolerance and understanding other cultures and faiths," he said in an interview with LBC yesterday. But what exactly are British values? Can they really be taught? And is that actually the solution to our problems? Guy, I'm going to go to you first. Thoughts on this?
I thought you were going to go to Kate first as our, official kind
American
of honorary Brit. But anyway,
Yes.
yeah, no, I mean, the term British values, I find a bit creepy, to be honest. I would prefer to think in terms of universal values, universal liberal values, human rights. These are the values that I think we should be talking about. Probably British values does mean those, but it's a slightly worrying term because it almost panders to a sort of nationalism, you against us kind of thing, which I'm not sure is very helpful in this particular context.
This is interesting. Let me ask you, as a humanist celebrant, if we're talking about universal human values, surely one of the biggest values that is held to by the majority of the planet is a belief in God, no?
True, yes. But just because I'm a humanist celebrant and an atheist doesn't mean to say that I'm against people, if they wish, believing in stuff that I personally find, doesn't stack up. There are lots of different belief systems around the world, and the essence of secularism, which I hold to, is a fair playing field for every belief system to be able to flourish, as long, of course, as it isn't inimical to security and peace. This is the trouble with Islamic extremism, and that is why something has to be done to counter those kind of beliefs which actually try to undermine and destroy liberal society.
Okay, well, let's bring you in now as our representative American. What are your thoughts, Kate?
Well, I had the same reaction that Guy did to the term British values, as in, that sounds a little bit like we're going to be indoctrinated, and that it's a little bit kind of a dystopic future, Starship Troopers kind of thing going on. However, reading further into the story, unraveling some of the qualities that he meant to sort of embody, things like tolerance and things like awareness and respect and things like that. That makes it a little easier to understand and to sympathize with and agree with. However, I do think there are things that are kind of being missed out there. I don't think it's just about British values. I think it's about understanding how the media works, understanding and being aware of propaganda, to be savvy consumers of news and communication, to be skeptical of things is important as an individual. But even beyond those things, I think the valuing of one's community, regardless of what your religion or your ethnic background or your nationality is, the community that you're in now, do you feel valued by them, and do you value your neighbors? I think that's most important. I think we need to treat each other with more respect and to show each other that people are welcome here and that they should feel protective of you just as you are protective of them.
And these are international values, aren't they? They're universal values, I would say. Yeah.
Correct.
You see, I'm wondering, from an American perspective, this to me sounds like the sort of thing that would happen in America. I associate you guys post-revolution, saluting the flag, talking about what you're all about all the time.
Sure.
Is that true? Is that perhaps a bit of a media myth that I've fallen for?
Well, I mean, keeping in mind that I'm from a blue state, which in America is the liberal,
right.
So it's reverse colors. I would say that there is an element of kind of uber patriotism in America that can be really good in one sense, but can be sort of ugly and stupid in other uses. It's like any tool. It depends on how you're wielding it and, who you're wielding it against. Sometimes Americans will use this sort of, super patriotic notion to just squash any intellectual idea. Remember when freedom fries came along, and it was sort of like when the French wouldn't get involved in the, was it the Gulf War?
I think the Iraq conflict,
Yeah, and so we decided, or one of our congressmen or senators decided that the French fries in the cafeteria in D.C. weren't going to be called French fries anymore. They were going to be called freedom fries.
Yep.
We did the same with coleslaw, or not coleslaw, sauerkraut in World War II. We started calling it Liberty cabbage. Right?
I didn't know this.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, patriotism can be dumb as a box of rocks, but also it is good to value your fellow countrymen. It is good to be proud of your endeavors, but you can never lie to yourself either. America's done some ugly things, and part of our patriotic sensibilities should include an awareness of the things that we've done wrong.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I'm really concerned by this story because I was of the understanding that schools were about teaching you how to think and not what to think.
Yes.
The distinction between education and indoctrination seems to have been lost in this debate. It's a bit of a concern.
I mean, I've complained about that in the context of faith schools, of course, as I have on this program before. So I think that is a real issue. But also, we don't know what they mean fully by British values, because that might include thinking for yourself, taking responsibility for your actions, and not allowing yourself to be driven into some mindless terrorism by, some creed or other.
But critical thinking skills also surely would help you not get drawn into that kind of thing.
Hopefully, absolutely.
And I guess, like I say, my fear with this is that if we're pushing British values, what you were just saying, Kate, are we actually also saying, all right, well, we get things right, but we get things wrong as well? That seems to be, from my point of view, the bedrock of American patriotism. Often does seem to be questioning government, questioning what's happening. And I'm not sure we have that in this monarchy of ours.
Oh, I think we do.
Thoughts?
I think we do, yeah.
Go on then, explain. Yeah.
Well, I think there's plenty of people who are critical of the government and of the sort of proposals that government makes. Yeah, I don't think taboos get away very easily, or dominant strands of thinking get away without opposition. At least that's not my impression. I don't know about.
Well, I wonder, as an American, do you believe that we are strident enough in challenging our government in this country? Because the Americans seem to do it all the time.
Sure. I mean, for right or wrong, for whatever groups in America are challenging the government, whether it's the Tea Partiers or, on the other side of the spectrum, the super liberal, there's people challenging government all the time. I would say it happens here, but I think you guys have the same problem that we do sometimes in getting your voice heard. And that is the way that the media treats people who are sort of, speaking out against the government, or maybe have a contrary idea to what is popular. God, what was just in the recent election, it was sort of the way that the SNP candidates were treated and the things that they were kind of coming up with against that, just to make that those thoughts and those ideals seem dumb to the public, seemed a little bit disingenuous to me, and also reminded me of, say, something like some of the conservative talk shows and television shows back in America, where, it's all about the passion and the fervor, but less about actually intellectually digesting the ideas.
Yes, I mean, where you use the word dumb, I would use the word crazy. Probably.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I mean, there is also the issue, isn't there, that way back in the sort of 60s and 70s, young people were attracted, weren't they, to the romance of Che Guevara and Trotskyism and communism and revolutionary struggle. And nowadays we don't have that for our young white people, but young Asians do have, and they are attracted by a certain romance of this IS. I mean, it's a crazy, extraordinary thing that they are, but that, I believe that is a factor there. Somehow we have to wean them off this romance of going out to fight against the enemy.
I feel the urge to interrupt what you're saying there with the observation that obviously anyone can join the religion. It's not a racial thing, is it?
No, you're absolutely right. And actually, some young white boys are doing it as well, and girls. They are also attracted by it. Because actually, if you're young and white, there's no romantic revolution going on.
That we're aware of.
We're aware of it.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Someone please ring in or email in and tell us one so that we can get the message out. They can
Okay.
go to that one instead.
Well, okay,
Well,
maybe.
well.
All right then. You're watching Late Night Live here on That's Manchester. My name's Nick Margerrison. And of course, if you do want to get in touch with the show, as I mentioned before, we have an email address, latenightlive@thatsmanchester.co.uk, or you can send us a tweet @thatsmanchester is our Twitter address. Pop one of them on and we'll try and read it out during the show. We will definitely read it and we'll attempt to reply within good time. We'll see you after the break.